Alright, hello and welcome to the postgrad year. Today we're going to talk about Commonplace books, and yes, my version is a binder. I'm going to set this down. This is the Commonplace Binder 101 playlist. We're looking at video number 60, which means we are 6/10, or, reduce your fractions, of the way through the playlist. So, the morality of a commonplace, that's this video. That one is next video. A duty to improve. So, I have a duty to improve every single video I bring to you. Not really. I was actually referencing, I hope the videos are improving. Normally I will talk about the first thing, but I decided to talk about the first thing on here. So this is the cover of my Commonplace Book, Commonplace Binder. Each one of these is a key term. This is video number 60, which means we're looking at number 60, which is morals. So that's kind of fun. I'm going to put this down now. It can get kind of heavy after a long period of time, and my neck will sink. Yeah, so a duty to improve. I have a duty to improve my posture. Yeah, so is a commonplace associated with morality or duty? Depends on who you talk to. Some people will say it actually is, but other people will say, it's kind of like an artsy academic thing. So it doesn't really make any sense for an artsy academic introspective thing to be all about service to one's community. Carefully upgraded. So maybe we need to upgrade it. Maybe we need to make it all about serving one's community. I don't know about that. It's just a book. Like, why why does it need morality? Now, a lot of people might be like, uh-oh, when I say that, and I'll get to why that is later on. Share your gains. You're gonna gain some muscles, and you're gonna write it down, and then you're gonna tell people about it. I guess. That's a little weird. That doesn't really go in this sort of book. I guess it could, if you wanted to. And I believe there's actually a channel which is doing, like, diet and exercise and commonplace books. Or it might just be that they did one video on commonplace books, and that came out recently. By the way, for context, it is close to the end of March 2025, so if nobody knows which video that is in the future, it might be easier to guess based on that information. Natural lighting. So why is my lighting so weird today? Well, I've recorded 4 videos today. 2 of them were close to the middle of the day. Actually, I think they were closer to around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it is a little bit after 10. It's about 10:30. So that's the reason why the lighting is a little bit weird. Is the lighting going to be weird in Commonplace Book or Commonplace Binder? I guess. You're going to need to write down and look at a sheet of paper, which might be a little bit different than looking at a phone. So you might be like, wait a second, I can get all up and personal with this. I don't need to lean back and be like, oh, why is it so bright? So maybe it might be weird to see a reflection of sunlight on a surface. I don't know. English Supremacy. So feels a little weird saying that. Felt a little bit weird writing it. Why do I have that listed? Well, because commonplace books, specifically, but I guess also Commonplace Binders, because I've made this giant playlist and nobody else's giant playlist on the subject. Yeah, English Supremacy, when it comes to the content relating to commonplace books, almost all of it is from the English-speaking world. And that's kind of because this is a practice that has existed for centuries. But in the last few centuries, we've had the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and most importantly, England. And now India is also getting a little bit further along with their English. So there are a lot of people who speak English as their main language, that have grown up speaking it, that will continue to speak it, and use it when they're online. And then they get into a practice which has been dominated for the last few centuries by English speakers. So, like, there's a lot of English. People just like you. If you're watching this video, I assume you also know at least a little bit of English, but if you figured out how to translate the video into another language, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Sometimes people translate into another language, but I don't know if I've done enough to make the videos more accessible in other languages, or if I should do that, because, as far as I know, this is mostly an English-speaking community, because this is more of like an English thing. I don't know. So people just like you, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. So one of the benefits of a commonplace is that your family existed and you exist, and you can write your stuff down and you can pass it on to a family member, and then they can have a record of information from a family member, even if that family member didn't have kids, even if they didn't leave a legacy in anything other than just some notes they left flying around. And so that can be kind of cool. And if you had some relatives that also didn't have kids or didn't create a business or, like didn't have any accomplishments that stuck around for more than 100 years, you might still have memories or echoes of them because they did other things and then they left their notes to people. Christian practice. So in addition to this being kind of English supremacy related, I gotta stop saying that. I feel like if I say supremacy 5 times fast, it's gonna create some weird looking comments. Yeah, so Christian practice, this has been done mostly in the English speaking world and the part of continental Europe which was controlled by Christians. So big surprise, this is mostly like a Christian thing. So it doesn't have to be, but I don't know, man. Like historically, it's kind of moving on. Helps check that box. So if you've been thinking about getting into journaling or scrapbooking or working on an album, or you got really into like Ikagi or something and you're like, we're gonna make a nice little chart here today, but once I complete it, where do I put it? Or I was on Pinterest or Tumblr or whatever else, and now I want to do something more analog, or I need to have a physical equivalent to my Evernote or Obsidian or whatever. Like, whatever box you have, this kind of fills in the extra bits. So like, if you don't know what you need, this is the common place to put all of it. So if you're thinking about doing like 5 different things, we both know you're probably not going to do all 5 different things and stick with them. So you might do one, might do all 5, but like realistically, how many of them are going to get done for more than a year? Unless they're really important things like, updating medical insurance and actually going to the doctor, and they are things that need to be done. Like, unless there's stuff like that, they're probably not going to happen. But that's okay, because this helps check that box, because you can move towards a thing without actually doing it. And so, like, you're making progress. Whoopsies, I forgot. That's one of the other benefits. So you might help check that box, but you might also be like, whoops, I was going to do it, I was thinking about it, I forgot. And so when you forget, you can go back to your thing. You can be like, wow, a commonplace, what's that? Carefully upgraded. Doesn't that mean some of my old stuff is in there? And so you can just be like, I forgot, but now I'm going to do it. Which problem to solve? So I feel like these are writing themselves. I don't even need to say anything. The funny thing is, I actually wrote these weeks ago, and I'm having trouble getting through my recordings because I've been stressing about some other stuff. Which problem to solve? So if I'm stressing about my other stuff, shouldn't I just get my other stuff done? Isn't that what I'm saying this whole time? Yes, but I'm not having a good time, so I'm having a little bit more trouble than normal getting through my stuff. The weather is changing. There's tax stuff coming up. My medical situation is annoying. Like, there's always something in life, and so sometimes it's good to figure out which problem to solve first. And I was going to work on one thing today, but I didn't want to work on that at all. But because I have like 5 different things, I could work on recording. And so once all the recordings are done, that won't be a thing to distract me anymore. And so I will focus more on the things that I actually have to do. All versions of ourselves. So it seems like all versions of me are distracted. Uh-oh. Why would I be distracted all the time? Why would I necessarily work on one thing that I have to work on when there are other things that I don't have to work on that I could work on? That happens to me a lot. And so it does help check the box of saying I am working towards a thing, but you actually have to like do the thing in order to get the thing done. But this can get you a lot closer, because Whoopsies I Forgot doesn't work as well if you're looking at the stuff like every day or every month or even every year, because you'll see it and be like, oh, right, I was supposed to do that. So, Commonplace Book. What the heck is a Commonplace Book? I just keep saying commonplace, commonplace, commonplace. But what is it? So, this is the common place for you to put all your stuff, which I said earlier. It's not really a journal or a notebook, but it is also both of them. How to describe the thing, which is the origin of all the other things. It's like trying to explain the concept of a shape to someone who deals in triangles, squares, rectangles, and everything else. It's like, this is the thing which made all of your things. It's the precursor, it's what came before. And so before people had computers, they would write stuff down. So there was no digital database, there was a physical database. And so the Commonplace Book is the way to access all of that information by keeping a little bit of a bunch of different things. So say you have 100 books, you would probably write down one quote from every single book. Realistically, it'd be more than one quote. Probably be closer to 10, depending on how long the book is and how much you want to quote that book and all the other details. But really, it's a way to get a little bit of a bunch of different things. And that's part of the reason why it's not really used anymore, because a computer fills like all the needs that a Commonplace Book kind of fills. Not all of them, obviously, like in terms of having a thing that you can pick up and grab and be like, wow, look at this thing I did. Like, sharing a text doc with someone isn't really going to do that. So if you can pick it up and show it to people, that's cool. But like, for 90% of cases at least, a computer is going to be better than a binder. Coping mechanisms. Is this for coping mechanisms? Are you just gonna write down things that help you feel better? Maybe. So, helps check that box. Yeah. When it comes to coping mechanisms, this is another thing that people can do. You know, you can just write down your feelings or your thoughts or whatever. Now, normally that would go into a journal or a diary or a brain dump or whatever somebody wants to call it. But the refined thoughts, or like when you review your notes, whatever is the most important that you want to keep somewhere else, that goes into the commonplace. And so it's not necessarily the first place that thoughts go, but it might be where the thoughts end up going. You might end up quoting yourself, and some people might be like, oh, that's super cringe, you're quoting yourself. We're talking about writing things down on a sheet of paper only for your own private consumption. So like, if you can't be cringe there, things might be a little challenging outside. So I'm pretty sure you can do it. I'm very confident that you can get that done. But if you don't want to, that's fine. Where are we? Consolidated Notes. Yeah. It's right there. So it might be you collect all this stuff and you don't know what to do with it. You might just be like, oh my god, there's stuff. So what do we do when that happens? Well, we can sort everything into categories. And so one of the benefits of having all these little tabs at the top is the noise, but also more relevant is the fact that I don't need to go looking for things because I simply write down the month and the year. So I know when I had it, or like when I worked on it, and then I write the subject after that. So anything related to that subject goes in that space. And so I might not know what I'm looking at, but I could just read through the content section and it'll be fine. So yeah, just remember it's the notes, but consolidated. Commonplace Binder. I have talked about that in the last few videos. So it's basically Commonplace Book, except this is a binder. So it opens and closes. And the rings also open and close. Because the rings open and close, stuff can come out or go in. And so that means there are no page numbers. And because there are no page numbers, there's no index. And because there's no index, I have a contents page. So the contents page has a title, and then each tab has a title, and then the top of each page has a title. Pretty easy. The stuff moves around. Other than that, it's basically the same as a commonplace. Like a commonplace binder doesn't exist, but a commonplace book does. And so, you know, like, I think you get it, but if you don't, leave a comment and I will try to clear that up. Centuries ago, So a Commonplace Book was used centuries ago. There might have been a Commonplace Binder centuries ago, but as far as I know, I'm the only one who specifically calls a Commonplace Book a Commonplace Binder, and only when it's in a binder. If it's in a book, I'll still call it a Commonplace Book. Like, I'm not against that. I just feel like Commonplace Book was a little crowded for what I wanted to talk about, and Binder is closer to what I want to talk about anyway, so I might as well just change it a little bit to Commonplace Binder. Centuries ago. So what did people do centuries ago? Who actually had one of these? People who could afford paper. And so that was not everyone. And so your family might have existed if you had a lot of money, or if your relatives from a long time ago did. But like, this was not a thing for the average person. And so when people got access to cheaper paper and more people could write and more people could save things, then yeah, more people had this sort of thing. But a really long time ago, like, it wasn't that common. Scratching the surface. I really am just scratching the surface with this. I'm not here to talk about the history specifically. This is more the morality. So is it moral of me to go through a video about morality and not actually talk about morality? Probably not, but we're going to move on. Create the circumstances. So what sort of circumstances can I create to talk about morality? So one of the things that people do is they get very Christian about it, because they're like, this is a Christian practice. I'm going to look in the Bible, I'm going to write down some stuff, and then I'm going to talk about it. And you can do that. That's fine. I am not the most Christian man on the block, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. Not today. Illusions of action. So if you're just checking all these boxes, are you getting stuff done, or do you just think you're getting stuff done because you're writing it down and you're putting it into place? Kind of both. I would say it's closer to the illusions of action, but it is very helpful jumbling thoughts around or unjumbling them, So I don't know if it's super moral to tell people this is going to solve all their problems, that it's going to change their life. It might just make you feel productive. But if somebody feels like they're super unproductive and they were like a gifted kid in school, or, whatever people tell themselves or are told by other people when they're not really achieving a lot that they want to be achieving at the time, it might help you with that. It might not, but it will feel like action if you're working on a binder rather than a digital thing. Sorry, in the previous video I had a digital word up there, so I was trying to point to that. It might just be illusions. It might be completely fake. And so, if you want to figure it out, you could probably try it out a little bit. So if you want a little bit of help in beginning your journey, or if you just want to see what I have to say about that, good. Check out the next video. So this one was very long and rambly, and I spent a little bit too much time on certain parts. If you have opinions about that, leave those down below, but we're definitely out of time. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye.